The shutdown is over. What does it mean? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz with you. And the government shutdown, the record-setting, longest shutdown in history is over. And what does it mean? In general, it means absolutely nothing. Okay, it means something for the workers that were employed. It means something for them. It means something for the people that they bought goods from. But from the market standpoint, it means absolutely nothing. As you can see from what we have seen over the last 35 days, we have had nothing but a rally. The markets have gone up from the depths of destruction on Christmas Eve back and had rallied about 14% from the bottoms. So it shows you that Wall Street did not care about the shutdown. And of course, it's the shutdown has become a tool and a bargaining chip between the left and the right, which we'll talk about that in our commentary later. But at the end of the day, okay, it had no effect on the markets whatsoever. So it finally ended on Friday, and here we are. So we're 3 weeks away from probably another shutdown, or from more than likely an emergency measure of building the wall, or whatever you want to call it, when it's all said and done. But again, we will get to that into our commentary. In the meantime, okay, is the market collapse here? And it's a great question to ask when we've just rallied 14% from the bottom. And again, you can look at this in a couple of different ways. This is either a bear market rally, okay, which are vicious and fast, which is what we've kind of seen, or it's the start of the next up leg. We don't really have a call as of this point yet. I would say this to you, that from a charting and a technical standpoint, it looks like we should be coming near the end. You know, the lack of volume, the collapsing volatility, only showing how much more complacency is back into the market again, could certainly be a reason to believe that this may have just been a vicious bear market rally. Now, the algorithms that I use and the things I use are long the market right now. So certainly we're not going to predict, okay, that the rally is over. Certainly I would say to you that we've said basically all week, you want to watch the levels of 2,600 to 2,700 in the S&P, and we'll see what happens. Again, there's a lot of times in markets and in trading that you have to sit back and relax and not try to outsmart or outguess the market. Let the market footprint come to you and tell you when it is time to move. So we'll see, and when we get into the markets in the second half of the program, we'll talk more about this. But I think, you know, we've seen that right now markets are mostly focused on the trade talks and what's going on with China. Now, again, we have said this, I think we're going on about 10 months since this whole thing started. I think that we have said this in the beginning. There will be a deal. There will be a deal. And furthermore, the effect of the trade wars, or whatever you want to call them, has not had the effect that we're being led to believe that it has had. You know, if you look at even though you've seen some words and some talking about them, it really is about the politicians and the lobbyists. It has nothing to do with the average American. Okay, to me, the trade war and the talks, all it has really done is given the retailers and people an excuse to raise prices versus actually what we really need to do. Now, again, I cannot prove what I'm saying here. I'm giving you my opinion, but I've seen this movie so many times, and I will use one of the examples I use quite often is Starbucks. For years, every time coffee went higher, Starbucks would raise their prices. Well, but they never lowered their prices when coffee went lower. Right now, coffee is at about 2 or 3 year lows. Has Starbucks lowered their prices? No. But so I think one of the things we have to learn is that when companies and businesses have a chance to increase their profit margin based on news that's out in the air that everybody knows about, and they convince us that that is indeed the deal, then you will see they will raise prices. It's very similar to the cost of jeans or whatever, cotton. my first TV spot was about cotton years ago. And of course, the amount of cotton in a pair of blue jeans is about 1% of the price. So we get these stories all the time, which makes it more simple for them to go ahead and raise prices and stick it to you as they have done forever. Just the last example, and we had the big gas problems way back when this whole mess started with oil. Everybody was crying and there's a problem. In the meantime, the gas companies, the oil companies showed record profits. So so again, we go back to the trade wars. To me, it's a bunch of bull. Again, there may be a few items affected by price, but the grains I don't think are as affected. And I think you can see by looking at a chart, because we've seen prices rise over the last 10 months from when they bottomed. And if you want to talk about soybeans, which seems to be the number one talk, soybeans, we're in trouble. And if you've been listening to this program, you know that we talked about soybeans in trouble when they broke below 10. And that was before there was even a whisper of a trade war. Okay. So again, there will be a deal. Whether it'll be by March 1st or not, that's another story. But you can see how the street is hanging on every word. And you see these ridiculous sell-offs and rallies, when somebody out in China or somebody here burps about the trade wars, okay? But of course you can see, what's going on in Venezuela, okay? And of course that's what a lot of our politicians are clamoring for here, is to get us into socialism. And of course you can see that Maduro is staying in power at the moment. I understand that some things might have flipped, but in the meantime, it's not about the government. It's about the illegal drugs. It's about the cocaine and the cash. Okay, that's what you've got going on in Venezuela. Okay, again, anytime you're in a socialist environment, and don't kid yourself, there's a lot of things here that are already in somewhat of a socialist environment based on a lot of the entitlements we give away. And that was, if you go back to the Creature from Jekyll Island and you listen to some of the things that they talk about, you can say that is kind of what the Fed and what the very wealthy and the banks have created here, okay, as they glom on and take all the cash away. Okay, so again, but when you look at what's going on there, it's got more to do with the money, okay? And one of the richest countries in the world, somehow the upper echelon has managed to siphon out all of the money, leaving the people who wanted that socialist government, okay, to fend for themselves, paying, $1 gazillion for toilet paper, for just the odds and amenities. So again, I think that, we make this mistake by believing that we can use other people's money and try to take it away from them and make it better. And again, that just goes to show you why the system of capitalism works the best, because it brings out a free market system. It allows anybody, okay, to come up with an idea and to try to get it through and make a living or work for somebody else. And again, it keeps the system rolling. And I think this is one of the big problems that we talk about. You continue to hear, as the elections are starting to come again, all this talk and crap about, free college, free this, free that. And I just ask the simple question, what's wrong with working for a living? What's wrong with getting up and going to your job and working? Okay. And, anybody has the opportunity in this country to move up and make lots of money. Okay. There is no rules that don't allow you to get to that opportunity. So again, I think the talk of the higher taxes is ruining, of course, this country. And again, I asked this question before, but if you look at the 3 highest tax states in the United States, New York, California, Illinois, why are they the 3 brokest states? Where is all the money going that we pay our taxes to? How do the states like Texas and Florida and Nevada flourish with less tax? So again, we see that the left-run states are also the states that are in the biggest amount of debt. So again, we continue with the sanctuaries and all the other things and continuing to pay for all the things that we shouldn't pay for, that people should actually work for, okay? But again, I think that, government and the central banking system has got it wrong. As always, I can't believe to tell you how clueless I think that they are. running this. But again, it may not be that they are clueless. It may be that it's to their best interest, not necessarily yours. Okay, so I think that is one of the problems that we have to always work about. And I think this is where a lot of the issues come in, is because we've got too many people that are happy and satisfied with the way, well, this is the way we've always done it. Well, maybe the way we've always done it is wrong. Okay, but I think that when you're looking at the system, okay, I mean, why all of a sudden did the Fed decide that they shouldn't pay back the $4.5 trillion of liquidity they infused into the market? Why is it that they are so concerned of what happens to the stock market on a day-to-day basis? Okay, and I think that is more of the bigger story and the bigger problem. That is not in the Federal Reserve's mandate, is to worry about what the stock market does on a day-to-day basis. We are at full employment. We are seeing higher wages. Okay, that is what their concern is supposed to be. And of course, we still say, okay, and we still believe that once again the banks have over-leveraged themselves. Although the stress tests are perfect. Okay, right. Okay. In the meantime, I think this, obviously, I can't tell you when. I don't have the answer, but I think we will see once again, when there is some contagion, when there's some problems going on across the globe, we will find out once again that the banks have over-leveraged themselves, okay, and that there's some problems, okay? But one thing we do know for sure, okay, is that government spending does not create economic growth, okay? And I think that's another falsehood that everybody gets into, okay? That we believe that their spending creates more growth, and it does not. Okay, growth is built through building something, making something, supplying a service, not paying and doing things and creating and throwing away a ton of money. Okay, and I think that's one of the big issues that we have to start to understand. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be back with more of Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. What's up, everybody? Remember, if you'd like to get a copy of the book from our friend Adam Barata, Gold is a Better Way, all you have to do is go to bubbatrading.com/gold. And of course, if you'd like to help us with our high school program, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Now let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Welcome back, everybody, to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz with you. And of course, last week, another up week for the markets. Again, it's quite fascinating to watch the markets work and to watch them go higher. And again, I'm not, as we have said, okay, and again, I want you to remember, I want to talk about listening is a skill for all you trolls out there who like to troll me all the time. Listening is a skill, and I have said this for weeks. The markets look like they want to go higher, and there is no reason to step in front of them, okay? I don't necessarily agree that they should be going higher, but they are, and there's no reason to get in front of it. So we talk about the levels. It's 2,600, 2,700 S&P. That's what you should be watching for, and you should be waiting for a solid footprint. In the meantime, you've seen, again, the market's up, and again, Friday, up again big. So we've had a lot of big up days, and I think the only down day came in when there was some news on China. But in the meantime, what did we see? Okay, we have talked about gold in that 1,280 to 1,300 support level, and it kept coming down. And of course, I kept writing for Kitco saying, don't panic, 1,280, 1,300. And what happened on Friday? Bang, zoom through 1,300, up 20-some dollars in a move in gold. Now, again, I couldn't have predicted that it was going to have a monster straight up move like that. But again, one of the things you want to remember when you're looking at a market and you're watching a market is when the sellers are trying to sell it and you start to panic and they still are not going in that direction, usually they will bounce like a trampoline and spring back. And of course, that's exactly what happened. So now the key thing is to watch is what happens over 1,300 in gold. Does it hold the support, or is this a false breakout and we go back into the 1,280 to 1,300? That is the question. And again, you cannot say from one day does not make a breakout, okay? You want to see the gold markets either consolidate, okay, and stay above 1,300 or continue higher from here Either way, if they come back under 1,300, most likely they'll stay in that consolidation pattern that they've been in for a couple of months. Now, when you take a look at the oil markets, crude has been in a very tight range for the last 2 weeks, right at the upper end of consolidation. We don't see crude going much past 55. It closed the week just under 54. It could, but again, that would be our puke point or our exit if it does start to break above 55. I think you'll start to see some movement. We had, of course, the rig counts were reduced to get these prices higher. You can bet your sweet potatoes that there's going to be a lot of selling of oil by the frackers and by the producers, knowing that they're going to be locking in a much higher price. And I believe you'll see the rigs come back and the counts start to rise again. Again, nothing has changed from a fundamental standpoint in the oil market. It's just they created a little bit of a shortage. This is not unusual. So I think it's something that you look for and you understand. And so that's why we have to be very careful and watch the levels that we're watching. And we've got the bond markets starting to sell off. And of course, again, they're not in disaster shape, but interest rates are starting to rise. Now, if you don't think that the fixed income and the currency markets cannot overcome and overtake any of the action that the Fed is trying to do, well, that they can do. And I think that, the dollar was moseying along nicely until Friday when it fell apart a little bit. But I think we're going to see a stronger dollar and weaker Treasury bond prices, which means higher interest rates. Okay. Again, I don't think anything has changed there. I think rates are still going higher. They were delayed a little bit, once again, thanks to our Federal Reserve and the little bit of manipulation that they like to do. Okay. And they try to press on the dollar and try to press on rates in the meantime. I think that, again, eventually the free market overcomes, and that's where the Fed will then, I think, make their key mistake. As we look at the grain markets, I think that grains have been extremely solid and have acted very well. Wheat at one time was the strongest, is now the weakest, but still holding support. Okay. Soybeans went from the weakest now to the strongest. They look like they're trying to break out to the upside, and I think that they will. Again, I think that I would be looking for back to the $10 bean level, but of course they've got to get through 940 before they can get to 10. I think you're going to see a big rally in the grain markets. I think some of it will tie to the trade war and the good news that will come out of that. But again, I'm not really a big fan of you trying to use that news. But I think what you've seen here is many opportunities to try to sell these down, and yet the sellers have not been able to take control, which means to me that the buyers are more likely to take control. And as we look into the protein complex, the meats, I think that live cattle has been unbelievable, and it came right back down from where we thought it would last week when we talked about it, and it's holding a support level here. I think that it looks really solid. I think we look for higher prices here. Feeders look really solid as well. They've held that period. They're down at the bottom end of the range. They bounced exactly from where we thought, and I think they go all the way back up and test the upper level. Hogs, unfortunately, are, as they say, getting slaughtered. So a little bit of trouble here. And on Friday, the hogs did break down. But the hog market would be like if you turn the gold market upside down. Okay, and I'm giving you a chart comparison here. If the hogs continue lower, then it's probably ugly and you have to exit. But it could be just a quick false breakdown, blow off to the downside, okay, which could easily pop back in, which is why when we talked about to a few of you on Friday, we talked about, let's hold until Monday and see what it looks like. And I think that is something that we're going to go ahead and wait to see. But we are not as bullish or as confident or as positive as we were. I think that would be the more proper way to look at it. So but I think that basically you look to be, I think gold looks solid. Okay. I think I want to be a seller of bonds. I'm a seller of oil. Okay. Buyer of grains. So again, I think those are things you want to look at. But again, it doesn't mean that you just have carte blanche to run in there. It means that you want to look at them and find levels to enter. The crypto market remains comatose. Now, there's a lot of things going on in the crypto market. I still believe that a lot of the things that are happening are more because of the Federal Reserve And because of some of the big banks, they're still trying to position themselves to put themselves in a position. So again, I don't think they're going away. I think the blockchain technology, I think the whole business is going to be much bigger. Again, we continue to lose money. We're not losing a lot of money, but we are in and we're losing money. But again, we're not trading them. We're just trying to buy them. You know, again, instead of going to a movie tomorrow, I'm going to go take the $100 and buy some cryptos. That's kind of the way that I look at it from my standpoint. Okay. Now, one of the things I would look at is the VIX is although not at its lows number-wise, is unusually low. And I think that's something that might bring to the forefront when this market does turn back to the other side. Again, I still believe, although as I said earlier, I'm long, my algorithms are long, I have a long position, but I also think that this year at some point we will take out the lows of last year. I don't think this is over, and I certainly believe that there's a lot of pressure that will come to bear in this market, because I think, of course, that there's going to be a debt problem. You know, we continue to ignore the debt, the problems that come with it. But again, that doesn't have to be tomorrow. It can be anytime, and we could certainly continue. But again, remember to watch the key levels of 2,500 to 2,600. 2,600, 2,700 in the S&P. In between there, we're just in wide sweeping congestion. Okay. Again, I'm personally long. Okay, I'm long through my positions. I'm long through my portfolios. So again, at the end of the day, I'm not going to fight what the market's doing. Okay, that's the one thing. That's where most people have problems, is following the rules and following the mechanics of what you should be. Okay, many people prefer to try to outguess and outsmart the market. Not a good sign. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz. We're going to step out of a break, and I'll be back with my commentary after the break. What's up, everybody? Well, we got a week to go before Super Bowl, so I'll have my key selection. But in the meantime, if you'd like to help us with our high school program, high school investing, you can help us by going to Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Now, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz with you. And of course, every week I get to spout off my commentary, or it's kind of like my Bubba's bitch or whatever. And as we talked about earlier, the shutdown is over. And again, I think that it was senseless. I'm disappointed. Look, let's be clear. I don't like either party. Okay. I don't like either the left or the right. Okay. As you know, or you may not know, I am a libertarian. I'm in the center. But I do not like us being used as pawns, and I think that, you know, that the whole setup, okay, is a joke, and I think that Schumer and Pelosi were ridiculous throughout this whole thing, not because they didn't give in, and not because they made Trump shut the government down, but because they had already voted for this funding years ago. But because it is Donald Trump who is trying to shake up Washington, okay, he was trying to bring, you know, I think we all forget something. I don't care whether you like President Trump or you don't like President Trump, okay? I don't care if you think bad things about him, you think he's ruining the country. To me, he is the one guy that has finally taken the bulls by the horn, so to speak, and is not on the take through all of these other operations. Again, I talk about the lobbyists and the politicians all the time that are always on the take. I think that this is where it's different this time, okay? From a political standpoint, I think that he is trying to do, in his opinion, what is truly best for this country, okay? That is my opinion. You can troll me and be nasty about my opinion, but again, I just watched this whole thing go on, and a party, okay, that had just voted for all this 3 times, to fund more than President Trump asked for, and then backed off when he's willing to work with the doc and the whole thing, I think is a crock. Okay. So I think that Pelosi and Schumer should be ashamed of themselves, but I think that the whole party is going wacko. We've got Cortez, AOC as they call her. She's so big, she's got her own name. I think that she's got a problem. I mean, she thinks that if you make too much money, you should be taxed more. And I think, again, I think that takes away the spirit of the free market and capitalism of the United States of America. People want to come to this country because anybody can turn something in to something. And I think that's one of the problems. I'm really getting tired of the socialism talk. I think that this is going to be one hell of an election coming up right now. But believe me, okay, if you look at the states that are broke, those are the states that have the most entitlements. Those are the states that have the most effect from illegal immigration. So again, I think it's time that we really stand firm. Very similar to what we're seeing from the trade wars in China, is standing tall and saying, it's it. And I think this is the time. And I will predict this, okay, in 3 weeks on February 15th, the left will not move. I will bet any amount here that President Trump will declare the emergency and will build the wall that way. And I hope that he does. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that he should clear the people that are in this country and say, okay, you're here. But I think going forward, we need a better immigration status, and we need to have a better check of who is coming into this country. Again, all the people that were born here, all the people that were brought in, I have no problem. I listen. They're great. They can be here, the good and the bad, and they become citizens. But I think from this day forward, we need to have a better handle on who's coming into this country. And that is it for today's Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz. As always, I thank you for being a part of the show. We will see you back here next week with more Bubba's Bottom Line, and every day with Bubba's Daily Update. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you later.